I'm Tim Berg.
The following is an America Matters media production. The views expressed do not necessarily represent those of the station or its advertisers, although we think they should. But that's the opinion of America Matters Media.
This is not America. Sha-la-la-la-la. Little piece of you.
Welcome back. It's Talking Truth to Power. I'm your host, Brendan Trainor, and my co-host, Leland Faegre, and on the board, Shanamon. All right. So, did you enjoy your 4th of July, Leland?
Independence Day, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's important to me because we always describe it as a date on the calendar, rather than the defining moment of North America, really.
Right.
And so I would prefer to describe it as Independence Day as opposed to interdependence.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. But I hope you know it's probably your last 4th of July.
No, yeah. Well, I always think that this is my last one. I've been saying that for years.
Yeah, so, the founders, they were all racist and sexist, wealthy, cisgender, white males, after all. And
Just like us.
yeah. Well, I don't know about the wealthy part, but still.
Well, wealthier than in other countries.
Yes. So, a lot of people would say that America is just an idea. But, ideas don't...
Biden says that, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think he does, yeah. Just like Antifa is just an idea.
Antifa's an idea.
But ideas don't make nations. People do. And people are not abstractions. They're flesh and blood, and they have their own desires and needs and their own ability to figure things out for themselves,
And
despite what the elite
racist
say.
goals.
Yeah, and racist goals.
According to them, that's
So,
we're sitting back in our sofas thinking about racism all the time.
yeah, because they keep talking about it.
Yeah, that's the other reason I'm suspicious of it.
Yeah, that black actor, Morgan Freeman, that's what he said a few months ago. What? If you keep talking about racist, then everything's going to become racist. But anyway, Ben Shapiro tweeted, by the way, I don't give a good damn about the browning of America. Color doesn't matter, ideology does. But then Stuart Bergerson replied to Shapiro, so I'm sure you wouldn't mind if Israel was flooded with paleo-conservative Palestinians, would you?
Well, you knew that was coming.
Well, it's that,
Fair play.
morality, yes.
Yeah, it's fair play.
Situational morality. In the news we found out that the American troops left Bagram Air Force Base in
The middle of the night?
the middle of the night. Didn't even tell the commander.
Didn't say goodbye.
Yeah. He woke up and there was nobody there.
Didn't take their basketball hoops or anything.
Yeah, they left some medical supplies for them. Whoop-de-doo, yeah. But, it reminded me of the story from Mahatma Gandhi. And a British general said to him, well, what do you think? You think we're just going to leave? And Gandhi said, yes, in the end, you'll just leave. And then Ron Paul had a good show about it. And Ron Paul famously said, we walked in, we can just walk out.
Yeah, and he's always said that.
Yes.
Wherever the troops are. We came in there, we can just walk out.
And so now
I always loved that expression.
Yeah. So, that's what's happening now, and it's going to be harder and harder to reverse it. I know the neocons are working feverishly to keep the forever war going in Afghanistan, but...
well, I think it's kind of interesting because apparently the ostensible replacement will be China.
In Afghanistan?
Will fill the void there. Yeah. Right on Russia's border again.
Well, Afghanistan does have a common border with China,
Yeah.
but it's relatively small.
Right.
I think Pakistan could be the number one guarantor of whatever comes out, although we don't know what's going to come out.
Nothing can come out of there except
No.
opium.
Yeah, exactly. So the Taliban are not exactly woke organization, but but they're what the people want, and it's unfortunate that we got involved.
Well, yeah, nation building never works, and we're finally learning another lesson about that particular example, and let's just hope that it's final this time.
Yes.
We start bringing them all home.
Mm-hmm.
How many nations are we in now? 191 or something.
We
like
have
that? Troops in 191. nations.
Something like that.
So
And
they should all go home. It's effectively welfare for these foreign states.
welfare for them, and welfare for the American military-industrial complex,
Mm-hmm.
and all kinds of people that are connected to it. And Donald Rumsfeld passed away at 88.
That was a big yawn, huh?
Yeah. Well, a lot of people don't know that if they do kill the authorization for the use of military force, which passed the House, hasn't passed the Senate yet that I'm aware of, that would be the end of the Rumsfeld-Chenoweth doctrine. And a lot of people don't know what that is, but that was basically destroy everything, rebuild, build back better.
It's kind of catchy.
Yeah. But it was the destruction of governments and whole societies, and it was accomplished in Iraq, Libya, Afghanistan, but now it's failing in Syria. Over 100 nations signed on to toppling Assad and destroying the country in the process.
I couldn't be more happy for Assad
Yeah.
to have survived this.
Yeah, sure. I don't care if he was brutal at times.
Well, I mean, you can.
I know he helped the minorities, including the Christians.
Same with Saddam.
Yeah, yeah.
There was more religious freedom in Iraq before we
Right.
arrived than after.
And even though he and Saddam were in the same party, the Ba'ath Socialist Party, he did not provide material help to Saddam during the Iran war that I'm aware of. And although we tried to pin it on him, he never accepted weapons of mass destruction or anything like that from Iraq. And he even accepted our jihadi prisoners for rendition.
Yeah, that's right, huh?
Yeah, he was at one time. He was a
Forgotten about that.
yeah, he was a friendly adversary officially. You know.
Yeah.
You hear it all the time. Buy local, think local, eat local, choose local, grow local. But who the heck really is local? You can shop with locals at the Nevada Marketplace in the Reno Town Mall and search for locals at buynevadafirst.com. We're all local all the time.
This is America Matters Media on AM 1180 KCKQ,
A Lotus broadcast station.
the power of radio since 1967.
Are you shy and don't want to talk on the air? Text us your questions or comments to 775-237-2266. Now, back to the show.
Welcome back to Talking Truth to Power. I'm your host, Brendan Trainor, and my co-host is Leland Faegre. And we have seen over the last week that China has celebrated the 100th anniversary of the Chinese Communist Party. And
Should we light another candle?
well, they had fireworks, they had parades, they had everything. So the party dates from 1921, but it took decades to come to power. And after they came to power, at the end of World War II, they killed 40 to 80 million, estimated, under Mao Zedong. Now, most of these deaths were due to forced collectivization resulting in famine. And that's very similar to what happened under Russian communism with the Holodomor in the Ukraine and so on. And but there were
Turns out socialism doesn't work very well in the
not,
field,
not
does
when
it?
it's what Lenin called war socialism. That's what Lenin called it. And that's total collectivization like that. No, it doesn't work. There were millions others killed during the Cultural Revolution. We don't know how many of them were capitalist roaders that were killed during the self-criticism. Apparently the Red Guards were ideologically split and they were killing each other during that time.
Hard to imagine.
Yeah. But then in 79, Deng Xiaoping emerged as the real leader of China. He was never the party chairman, but he was the power behind the throne.
I've spoken to Chinese people who liked him.
Yes.
They thought he was the, of course, after Mao and Cho.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
how difficult would it be?
Right. So he ended the Cultural Revolution turmoil, and he introduced the system they have now with the mix of capitalism under state direction, and China is now emerging economic superpower. Now, under China, Xi has made the claim during this 100th anniversary that China has not only grown economically, but has eradicated poverty. They claim that everyone in China has basic economic security and is above the poverty line. So, and another theme of the centennial...
What is their poverty line in China?
And I don't know that economic. I'm just... I don't know exactly what they mean by that, and I don't know how we could test it. Or,
in U.S. dollars.
yeah, and
basically.
I don't know how we could find out
And
about
heaven
it.
knows that that's constantly fluctuating.
Yeah.
And now we've got a $20 trillion, $30 trillion debt.
Yes.
So what is our wealth?
Not much.
Valued at
Yeah,
now,
I know. That's when people bash Russia and China and Iran and these other countries. They're far from perfect, but we got a lot of problems here at home.
I even love the feel of gold.
Yes. So the theme of their centenary also was the triumph of China over hostile foreign powers. And they feel that they've had, they say 100 years of humiliation, but they also count the Opium Wars in the 19th century. So it's almost like 200 years of Western domination over their country. They claim that, the Boxer Rebellion is another source of national shame, and how the European powers and Japan came in. And then Japan, of course, invaded China. And we had the Nanking Massacre. And, just like with Russia, Americans don't give the Chinese any credit for defeating the Japanese. We like to think we did it all ourselves, but they played a big role in World War II. And so China's becoming more assertive on the world stage now, and as we saw in the meeting between Blinken and Wang Yi. And our generals have gamed out a war with China, and the U.S. loses every time. Xi said anyone bullying China will get a cracked head. And this was immediately interpreted by the media as a threat without any context about the whole talk about the 100 years of humiliation.
Well, partly there's no design, there's no interest in defeating China.
Right.
There never has been since we welcomed them into the arrangement that we now call the New World Order.
Yeah,
Not to mention that tuba.
But anyway, I know that we can certainly criticize the U.S.-Chinese relationships over the years, but we have to acknowledge that Chinese communism is not the same as North Korea, Cambodia, Cuba, Russia.
No.
Although it started out that way under Mao. And I don't believe that all the millions of Chinese celebrating last week were just robots.
No, they fly out of the country and come back.
Yeah, they fly out and come back. Even that woman that claimed she was raped every day in Xinjiang concentration camp, she had
Oh, yeah, I did
Yeah.
hear something about that.
yeah, she had a 10-year visa stamped by the,
Is that right?
Yeah, she is free to go anytime. And I think most of the concentration camps, the people, so-called concentration camps, the people were free to go on the weekend to go home.
Well, they couldn't leave, so I guess it was, not in the aggregate sense.
So the Chinese people really believe that the Chinese Communist Party has made their lives better. And not only that, but I think that Mike Bloomberg, who has got a lot of experience in China, he was at least partly right during the debates when he says that the Chinese government has a constituency, because 70% of the Chinese believe they have a democracy and that they believe the government listens to them. But less than half of Americans look fondly on their government and believe our government is responsive to their needs. So there's a lot of
The
paradoxes.
public schools are to blame for that.
Yeah. So there's a lot of paradoxes and misunderstandings in our relationship, and but Chinese culture, it's basically made up of Confucianism, Taoism, and Buddhism, and those are not really bad philosophies when you think about it. I know that they put the Marxism tacked onto that, just like what Catholics put Catholicism on the religion of the the country that they're in. Yeah,
just a little bit of discipline.
Yeah. If you read Alexander Solzhenitsyn, perhaps you can think about a big difference between China and Soviet communism is that Russian communism was largely created by enemies of Russia. I'm talking about the diaspora Jews, anti-Russian Finns, Germans. Even Stalin was a Georgian. He wasn't Slavic either.
What about the $20 million of gold that came in on the sealed train?
Yeah, exactly.
Never mind the former.
Yes, exactly. So Chinese communism was not created by enemies of China. It was born out of rebellion against imperialism. And it had a nationalist flavor to it that Russian communism never had. Russian communism was internationalist from the beginning. That they were going to export their way of life, just like America likes to export our way of life.
Well, the reality is that, depending on where you want to pick up the Chinese story, the elites of internationalism were sponsoring both China and the Soviet Union at their respective times. From
Right.
1917.
You're talking about Arnold Hammer?
Yeah,
Well, no, you're
him.
talking about the bankers.
Yes,
Schiff.
Yes, the
Jakob Schiff and
correct. Yeah.
yeah,
So they were the ones that brought effectively communism or Bolshevism to Russia with $20 million that they sent in on the sealed train. And it really wasn't much different when Kissinger and Nixon afforded Mao and Cho the opportunity to join the community of nations in their grand design. The same people, or heirs of those same people, were responsible for both incidents.
Yeah, but I think that China and Russia are forming an independent counterweight to the West. But I'm open to the idea that somewhere down the line that we could all find out that it's, that they actually are working, because there actually is a global international conspiracy that's out to enslave us all, especially with this digital currency. It depends on how that happens. I mean, if it happens in concert with the Western banks, and so that the banksters have control of all the digital currencies, and including China and Russia, then maybe your worst conspiracy fears will come true.
Well, they've already come true. They're not commonly held understandings, but the reality is that even this morning on the Gateway Pundit, a Chinese professor is claiming in a video that apparently surfaced earlier in the year or late last year, but is resurfaced now, that U.S. elites teamed up with China to take control of the United States of America. That makes perfect sense to me. Perfect. It's a part of that grand design that a handful of nations would control the deliverance of the world's commerce and political authority to the United Nations. That's what it was designed to do. And it sits on property that the Rockefellers donated. That is to say, the United Nations.
Yeah, I know.
So-
They are globalists supreme, but that doesn't mean the United Nations is totally evil. I mean,
Well,
the UN
in other words, to have an apparency of legitimacy, it would have to be described as a debating forum or some parts of it to give legitimacy to its existence. But the reality is that they have sinister objectives. There's just no question about that.
Well, We'll see. I mean, when we get into Jews in the news, we'll have another way to describe what direction the world is going.
Well, many of the conspirators that we're describing, including the shifts that you mentioned earlier,
well, they just happen to be Jewish.
just happen to be Jewish. Oh, okay.
Barbecue, the Butcher's Kitchen, would like to thank every customer for your loyalty and continued support through these challenging times. Call for takeout and delivery of rib tips, brisket, ahi, tuna, roasted veggies, and much more. Barbecue's open from 11 to 7, Monday through Saturday, and delivers hot food safe and healthy. Call 499-5855 for details. 499-5855 Barbecue, as featured on diners, drive-ins, and dives. Get real. Get into Barbecue Reno.
This is America Matters Media on AM 1180 KCKQ, a Lotus broadcast station. The power of radio since 1967.
To join the conversation, call 844-790-TALK. That's 844-790-8255. Now, back to the show.
Well, this last Independence Day weekend saw another huge spike in murders committed in America's democratically run cities, including Chicago.
Yeah.
And then...
and another 3 police officers were shot this morning.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
In Chicago?
Yeah.
All right. So Newsmax has been on the case there, and they've been questioning Mayor Lightfoot about the horrendous spike in crime and asked her, does she feel any responsibility for it? And Miss Lightfoot said, them boys, they be going down to Gary and buying those guns from white folks. Them guns done get violent and shoot them chillins. White devil's guns be the reason them chillins dead, sure enough.
So it's our fault.
It's our fault.
Everything that goes wrong in the world is our fault.
Yeah. Now, of course, you're going to say that was crude and racist for me to paraphrase Miss Mayor Lightfoot like that, but gosh, that's what her logic sounds like to me. And I'm sorry,
I wouldn't feel any sort of contrition about it. I think that she's every bit as worthy of the whatever she gets in this episode that she's Did I see this morning that she and Biden are going to sit down?
Oh, no, I don't know.
I think I saw a little crawl this morning on Fox that they were going to get
as
together.
long as he brings enough notes, he should get through it.
Yeah, the cards?
Yeah.
Because that's
I
what
don't
it
have
takes
anything
for
new
him.
for you on that, and we'll circle back with you directly.
Oh, okay.
I can circle back. I'll circle back with you.
All right.
So in East St. Louis, which is close to Chicago, sure enough, a new woke report claims that lack of diverse, nutritious diet while growing up is the cause of black-on-black crime.
How about the smoke? Did you see where?
Oh, the 4th of July smoke is racist?
Fireworks.
Fireworks smoke is racist.
Yeah, because this for some reason falls unfavorably or to greater proportion on black people than white people.
Well, that's been the theme. The New York Times has been reporting every single disaster like that for the last 40 or 50 years. It's like, such and such happened. Women and minorities hardest hit.
But now they've really ratcheted up the stupid.
I know. The stupid.
And
we choose truth over facts.
Because they seek a civil war in this country to divide
Yeah,
us.
they do.
And it's obvious. It should be obvious to people.
That's what they're trying to do. And anyway, according to this woke study about East St. Louis, you have to go half a mile or even a mile to the nearest supermarket. Now, that's a real food desert. I bet even a camel couldn't travel that far.
Jesus, I'd go 5 miles for food where I am.
But you have white privilege. That makes it much easier.
Oh, okay.
And so once again, white people are buying guns all the time, and the low murder rates among poor whites.
Yeah, but it's not just
living in a food desert or living in Chicago. Nobody can explain that differential.
Did you see where black ownership of firearms is way up as well?
Yeah, well, they need to.
They want to protect themselves.
Yeah, exactly. The black police chief in Detroit believes in concealed carry.
He stepped down.
He pushes.
Now.
Oh, he did.
He stepped because he's going to seek Whitmer's seat as governor.
Oh, good for him.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Just like that black police chief, what was his name? Eric Adams, I believe. He won the Democratic primary.
Right.
Now I don't know how good he'll be, but he says he's going to carry a gun in the mayor's office. He's going to carry a gun, so we'll see.
Couldn't be any worse.
Now we'll see if Amy Coney Barrett steps up and declares that all these inner city, large city gun laws are unconstitutional. That's what we really need.
Mm-hmm.
So
our in-studio audience enjoyed that one.
And as long as I was giving my impression of how to speak bubonics, I was gonna go over to General Miley. You remember General Miley and General Austin, how they were called on the carpet by Matt Gaetz and other Republicans
last week. Yep.
So I don't know if you know John Derbyshire. He's an older man, a British commentator, and he's been canceled. He lost his job with National Review because he was too race realist and all that. But he still has outlets that he can get his name across. And he did a satire. It's really worth it. Are you familiar with Gilbert and Sullivan?
Sure.
The Pirates of Penzance? Yeah.
Yeah.
So he did a mock-up of that about General Miley.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Oh, hysterical.
Yeah. He says, I am the very model of a woke postmodern general, with interest extending to the deeply intellectual.
So he's a poet as well.
Yeah. Derbyshire is.
Uh-huh.
I'm well read in philosophy, both social and political, in Marx and Mao and Lenin, and yes, racial theory critical. I'm very keen to understand the origins of white folks' rage. With Kendi and D'Angelo, I've ordered all ranks to engage. By scrutiny and eavesdropping, we'll purge extremists from the force. All fans of Trump, all MAGA hats, no BLM, of course.
That's very good.
Yeah.
I mean, I think National Review did him a favor.
I know.
To hell with the National Review.
Oh yeah, they are. They're proponents of. I call it Prager Jew. The Prager University.
There's some of that. It was founded by Buckley.
Yes.
Who was a globalist.
Oh yeah.
And a member of the Council on Foreign Relations.
Oh yeah, and he was the one that pushed the continuation of the income tax after World War II in order to fight communism.
And spit on the John Birch Society.
Exactly. Kicked out the John Birch. Kicked out Mary Rothbard. Kicked out Joe Sobran.
I had an exchange with Buckley in the Claremont colleges many years ago now. Walking up the street with him, and I asked him about his membership in the Council on Foreign Relations. And he turned his head faster than I had seen lightning hit the ground. He did not know that anybody with hair my length was going to ask him that question.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And we stopped at a street corner. We were about ready to cross a street. So we had to stop and look both ways, because that's what you're supposed to do when cars come, right? And he proceeded on, because I forget where he was going. He was there for a speaking engagement. And I stayed on the corner. I wasn't interested in him anymore after that exchange. And he goes halfway across the street, turns around, looks at me, and he points at me, and he says, the trouble with you Birchers is you're too simplistic.
Oh, yeah.
That's a direct quote from William F. Buckley Jr.
He didn't tell you to shut up, though, huh?
But he did. But he did smoke marijuana.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
Shut up.
He thought those laws were archaic, and he was right about that.
Yeah.
So I like to give credit where it's due.
So does Clarence Thomas. He spoke out again about the archaic marijuana laws, and that they're really holding back my green marijuana investments.
Well, and they're holding back civilization. I mean, we should be well beyond this subject.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we've got more important things to be concerned with than cannabis.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
And it would do a lot about getting rid of the harder drugs, too. I mean, God knows if marijuana was legal, we may never have had St. Fentanyl Floyd be murdered, you know, like that. Because studies have shown where cannabis is legal, people tend not to go into the harder drugs, although they claim that it is a gateway drug to heroin.
Yeah, they have always maintained that.
Right.
Gateway status.
But I mean, we have to find a way to make those hard drugs legal too, and not just so that the people that are stuck in using them are going to, it should not be a death sentence just because you have a bad habit. You should not be forced to take a substance or maybe you're not forced, but feel like you have to take a substance that you don't know what's in it. You have no idea of the purity. That's what causes most. And the other thing that causes overdoses besides the purity is just the lack of knowledge about drugs, because drug education, due to the war on drugs, is so poor. People are not told all the differences between the drugs. They're not told not to mix, certain drugs, that the dangers go way up when drugs are not mixed.
But Buckley, to his credit, notwithstanding on that subject, also advocated the relinquishment of the Panama Canal Zone. Reagan took him apart on that. I think that debate was extraordinary.
It's all part of the plan.
And his globalism was apparent on so many issues. But this is a quote I wanted to conclude this segment with. It looks like we've got enough time to get it in. "We are grateful to the Washington Post, the New York Times, Time Magazine, and other great publications whose directors have attended our meetings and respected their promises of discretion for almost 40 years. It would have been impossible for us to develop our plan for the world if we had been subjected to the lights of publicity during those years. But the world is more sophisticated and prepared to march towards a world government. The supranational sovereignty of an intellectual elite and world bankers is surely preferable to the national auto-determination practiced in past centuries." Who said that?
I don't know.
David Rockefeller.
Oh, David Rockefeller, yeah. We don't know what things they have their fingers in, but usually not very good.
He just told you.
At Northern Nevada Family Dental, we are proud to announce a wide range of advanced dental services by way of the Photona Lightwalker laser.
This is America Matters Media on AM 1180 KCKQ, a Lotus broadcast station. The power of radio since 1967.
Want to expand your advertising dollar? Sponsor this or any America Matters program by calling 775-827-8900, extension 2. Now back to the show.
Welcome back to Talking Truth. Oh, go ahead. Oh, welcome back to Talking Truth to Power. I'm your host, Brendan Trainor, my co-host, Leland Faegre. And we're going to do a segment of Jews on the News today. So first we have to give the... All right.
It's great music.
Yeah.
Sounds Jewish.
Let's give the mandatory Anti-Defamation League disclaimer that we know that Israel is our greatest ally in the Middle East, and it's the only democracy in the Middle East, and they don't throw gay people off of roofs.
That's right.
And each and every time that we see Jewish people behaving badly, we must remember it's always our fault. So we're going to start off with, while French generals are churning out white papers on the imminent threat of civil war due to non-assimilating Muslims, A woke Jewish Mathilde Cohen, a lawfare professor at the University of Connecticut, gave a talk at the University of Nanterre in France in which she proclaimed that French food is racist. French eating habits reinforce the dominance of white people over ethnic minorities.
I've always thought that.
The boundaries of whiteness are policed through daily food encounters, and she she particularly said that the French are couscous Republicans. Because when they eat couscous, they're really hiding their white guilt about what they have done to the people of North Africa.
I have goose every Christmas dinner. Did I mention that? Yeah. Oh, that's not the same.
No, that's not the same
okay.
thing. No, okay.
I got confused there.
Well, but so Macron, who's desperately tacking to the center because of his loss in the regional elections, came out and blamed the U.S. for woke culture that is destroying French culture.
Infecting
Yes.
French culture.
Macron, did you ever hear of Simone de Beauvoir, Foucault, Marcuse? Woke culture came to America from France, you idiot. Now it's just well-deserved blowback.
Exactly. Well-deserved.
So we have another in the news, Senator Jackie Rosen of Nevada, Senator of Las Vegas, really, is very upset that Americans might be changing their opinion about Israel since they saw the recent assaults on Gaza and the West Bank, and she's determined to do something about it. According to Rosen, the bond between America and Israel is now more important than it ever has been. So she is getting a bipartisan committee to combat anti-Semitism.
And this is from Senator Jackie
Rosen. Yeah. A task force consisting of a majority, she's already got 56 senators signed on, and she's going to do it in the House of Representatives as well.
I'm Andrew Saul, Commissioner. I'm here to...
Andrew Saul? Yeah. He's also Jewish, isn't he?
Yeah. No issue threatens Jewish communities more than the alarming rise of anti-Semitism and violent extremism. I wonder who those violent extremists are,
Well, they're out there.
Yeah, so the White House must take steps to advance accurate Holocaust education and counter Holocaust denial and distortion to fully implement the Never Again Education Act. And so that's another one. So that's going to ensure, well, maybe we don't have to teach the Constitution in our schools, but we got to teach Holocaust education. That's most important. And the Jewish institutions already get over 95% of discretionary funds from the Department of Homeland Security to keep these violent extremists at bay. Now, recent surveys show fully 25% of Americans do not believe the official version of the Holocaust. So, Senator Rosen...
Really? Is it that high?
Yes.
That's pretty good.
Senator Rosen will need a Holocaust museum on every street soon to make sure we all know it. Yeah. And then, I don't
know how well that'll go over in Las Vegas.
No. The next Jews in the News personalities come from Israel. One of Israel's most respected rabbis, Rabbi Shmuel Eliyahu, recently released a statement on the status of America as a waning world superpower, and he put out a message of hope that Israel can fill the void. Rabbi Eliyahu
as a superpower.
As a superpower.
Wow. Wow, that's...
Rabbi Eliyahu is the chief rabbi of Safed and a member of the Chief Rabbinate Council. He says the USA has declined and maybe Israel should come in. And I'm wondering, what caused the decline, Rabbi? Could it be the very people among whom you live?
Yeah, right.
In fact, the Jewish rabbis from the days of the Old Testament Levites have a history of dwelling in others' lands, gaining influence there and prospering, and then when they contribute to that nation's decline, they immediately embrace new rulers. You could almost say it's almost parasitical. Even if you go back to the Babylonian captivity, the Levites, now in those days they were called the Levites, I'm talking about 450 BC, The Levites later became the Pharisees in the time of Jesus Christ, and they also then became just the after Moses Maimonides, 12th century, and the Talmud. They just started calling them rabbis, but so they were the totality of the Jewish nation was formed during that period, and they were just the Judahites, the tribe of Judah, half the tribe of Benjamin, and the priests. But this time the priests were backed up by the Persians. So they managed to...
Oh, well, that's good.
Yeah, so they managed to lay down Mosaic law. That's when they put in the... they started the cult of Yahweh. They got rid of all the pagan gods in the southern kingdom, and they proceeded to go ahead and go into this whole chosen people idea. That's when it all began. Before then, during the time of the patriarchy,
they weren't chosen in those days?
They weren't chosen. No, they were chosen. They had the story about the covenant and all that, but they were not. They were mostly assimilationists. I mean, I mentioned one time that Yahweh had a girlfriend.
Yes.
And Yahweh's girlfriend was really Asheroth, the goddess of the Canaanites.
I knew that.
You knew that, right? But one of the things, if you go to the Bible in Deuteronomy, the Levites kept saying, "Get rid of those Asheroth poles."
So
and
that was a reference.
That was because Asheroth had her feet were like a tree trunk. They were like welded together like a trunk. So she was like a tree. She symbolized the tree of life, the knowledge of good and evil, all of that good stuff, and as the feminine deity. But they did not want a feminine deity to be a part of their religion. So they commanded the people to destroy these Asheroth poles, and archaeologists have found that the older, the Jewish people, the people on the land, as they called them, the elites, the Levites called them the people on the land, they actually had little shrines in their homes, and they often had two figures. So they had a male and a female figure. So they were worshiping Yahweh or Baal. Some of them just worship Baal, the Syrian god similar to Yahweh, and Asheroth. So they had to get rid of all that and become subservient to the priesthood. It took hundreds of years, but that's where it all began.
Well, women had the dominion of nature.
Yes, exactly. And they couldn't wipe it out completely because, in the Jewish temple they have the Ark of the Covenant where Yahweh is supposed to dwell. Mm-hmm. But the menorah, that 8-branch candlestick,
Yeah.
that's actually a tree symbol. So they couldn't get rid of Asheroth completely. Even in the Ark of the Covenant, they still have a female symbol in there. And so the other Jew in the news, also from Israel, for the first time in history, this ruling coalition under Naphtali, I think his name is?
Naphtali,
yeah. They include 4 Arabs. They have an Arab list.
Right,
yeah. Mm-hmm. So this one Israeli member of the Knesset, their parliament, Yitzhak Pindras, gave a speech on the floor of the Knesset looking directly at the Arab list people, and he said Jews who marry non-Jews were assimilationists, and referred to that charming Old Testament story of how a zealous Judahite general ran his spear through a Jewish prince and his Canaanite wife on their wedding night. So he was calling out the Naphtali Bennett coalition as the Jew who married the Arab, in other words, the non-list Jews. And it's not exactly the message of racial harmony that the Jews preach in America.
As Payne often pointed out, the blood is everywhere in that book.
I know. Oh yeah, Yahweh was a real jerk, to put it mildly. And so those, there's no. I know. I rant about this, but there's no reason to call Christianity Judeo-Christianity. Nobody did that until after World War II. And it's just...
Well, they sure embrace each other now, don't they?
Yeah, they sure do. Ever since Vatican II, and I was in religious school during when Vatican II came about in the 60s, with all the singing Kumbaya during the Mass.
There goes the Latin.
Yeah, exactly. Out the door with the Latin. But you know,
So you were a patron at the time of Vatican II?
I was a patron.
Well, I mean, you were in the
I was in high school, but it was a very religious Catholic high school.
I see.
Yeah.
That was a major event.
Yes, it was. Yeah. So we had a chapel in the high school, you know, so we had to learn the new liturgy and everything. And I thought it was okay at the time, but now that I look back on it, you know, I can see that it has, if you believe in the Catholic religion, it has done a lot of damage to the Catholic religion.
Well, I think it did. It brought down